What's the most creative way of driving someone crazy discreetly? Whilst my friend and co-worker took a break one day, I plugged a wireless mouse into the back of his computer. For the past 2 weeks I occasionally jog the mouse, and he's slowly being driven insane by it. Try to open a bag of chips quietly, for an hour. And then proceed to try and quietly eat the chips. Dump them by saying, "I'm done and it's too late to talk about it." Then proceed to message them daily asking as they need anything, essentially making it impossible for them to move on. My ex is doing this to me while she is clearly already over me, and it's working. To counter this, drop little hints that you're into someone else now. X, do you need blah blah? You, nah. Use the name of a girl you both know. Got me blah blah thanks though. X, girl we both know last name. You, nah. X, girl we both know who then? Then just don't answer any more questions about this mystery girl. She will think you are sparing her feelings by avoiding the subject. It will drive her nuts who's suddenly stealing your attention. The penny trick works great. Start by leaving a penny on your friend's desk, chair, coat pocket, places where you would expect to find a penny. Leave one a day for a while, varying the locations. Then start leaving them in shoes, socks, bed, pillowcase. At first they will ignore the penny, but eventually it will bug them. Took my roommate 3 weeks until he stroked out one night after finding a penny embedded in his bar of soap. I highly recommend this. Drives them ducking mad. Edit, I wanted to go nuts with this. His final straw was the soap, but I really wanted to start putting them in his car and get a co-worker of his to play along and start leaving them around his desk. I'm upset my plans fell short. I was sitting in class and this really irritatingly prissy girl was sitting in front of me with her iPhone. She had the whistle ringtone on full blast and was getting blown up, most likely by crack dealers, so her phone whistled frequently. The only logical thing to do in my mind was to whistle exactly like her phone every single time she looked away from it. I thought she would figure out it was me after the first or second time, but nope. I mimicked her phone going off for 45 minutes before she finally turned it on silent and put it in her purse. She also never found out it was me. TLDR, I mimicked a girl's iPhone text tone until she put it away. Picture me reading your post on my phone in a dead quiet room, my 2 pit bulls snoozing peacefully by my side. I was impressed with your mimicry, and after hearing the sound in my head, decided to see how accurately I could reproduce it. I didn't nail it, but what I did do was hit some sort of resonance in my mouth that destroyed the silence and amplified my whistle into some demonic call that not only startled myself but sent my dogs into a terrified frenzy. One of them, still half asleep no doubt, ran directly into the wall in front of her and fell to her back. The other nearly did a backflip, stood up, looked me straight in the face and barked twice. That was the most hilarious thing I've seen in ages, and I thank you for it. My neighbor is a huge ducking donk. Always being loud, yelling at his wife, the dog, the kids, etc. Always playing his shitty garage rock, blasting it out of the garage so the whole street can hear. My payback for this is that every night I go over to their front yard and move the stuff around. His shitty little garden gnomes, his shitty hose, his shitty lawnmower, his shitty shovel. Just move all of it around a little bit every single night. Every now and again I hear who keeps moving my duck and shovel around. Haha. Sucker. And now he beats his wife. Congrats. In that case it's a good thing he can't find his shovel. Not someone did to me on purpose, but one that happened nonetheless. At my old rental I had with my sister, for about a couple of months I kept hearing ringing noises, that similar to an old phone ringing, every time I would walk through hallway, kitchen, lounge room or dining room. Or also when I listened to music on the stereo in the lounge room. For the months it drove me crazy. I would be walking and hear, stop to listen, and lo and behold nothing. I never caught on to how come it stopped every time I looked for it. I thought it was a ghost, humoring myself, or that neighbor's ducking phone kept ringing. So one day I was looking for something in kitchen, and I look on top of the tallest cupboard and find this mother ducking clock. This piece of shit had one of those old school bell and ringer on it. Vibrations from walking/stereo made it ring. For ducking months that bastard drove me insane. No one believed me about the ringing. Turns out my mother bought my sister the clock and sat it on the top of the cupboard where it got pushed back where you couldn't see it. So yeah. Basically, hide an item that will make annoying noise where you can't find it. Stealing this from the office. If you know somebody that has a house phone and uses it daily, or someone at the office with one, every day get in early and take it apart and add 1 penny. Repeat this for months on end until it is a lot heavier than it used to be. Then, one day, take all of the pennies out and laugh as they smack themselves in the face with the phone. Alternatively, fill it with uranium. Not only will it get heavier, but they will also get cancer. That'll get M. A coworker of mine used the Annoyatron on another coworker for weeks. It's a small device, $half size, that makes a quiet high-pitched beep at random intervals. It has a magnet on it so you can stick it under a chair or hide it in some pretty hard to find locations. Sometimes he'd turn it off for a few days or a week, only to turn it back on when the victim had let his guard down. He would move it all around the office. The guy started getting desperate after a few weeks of this. He had maintenance come in and take the thermostat apart. He looked in the ceiling tiles and air vents. The icing on the cake was when the prankster put the Annoyatron in the poor guy's car. He used to leave it unlocked during the workday. He thought the feds were after him. This one's buried and I've posted it before, but it's worthy of this thread. I'll give a shortened version. Dude at work was complaining that his spoons were slowly disappearing from the lunchroom. He had brought 6 to work and he was down to 2. Everyone else in his lab hatched this plan. Every time someone sent him an email, at the bottom, in white text, that is invisible unless highlighted, everyone would write, spoon 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 spoon. We all did this for several weeks. He had a Gmail account, and that's when he started losing his mind. Every website he visited had ads for spoons and flatware. He thought Google was reading his mind. While walking outside in a crowded area, start looking up in the sky, shade with your hand, point upwards and whisper something to whoever you walk with. Then take note how many other people will spend some time trying to figure out what you just saw in the sky. My favorite was the person that sewed someone's sleeve button a little closer every few weeks so the guy felt his arms were swelling. 3 years ago I made my wife a lasagna. Sauce from scratch, homemade spinach pasta, expensive cheese, the works. Hours invested, and the return? You should put more cheese on it like at the Macaroni Grill. I went out that night and bought 6 interior left-hand doors. All of our interior doors were right-handed. I cut plugs to fill the strike plate and hinge mortises, and every few weeks I change out a door or two, right hands for left, left for right. It only takes about 20 minutes now. Pull the door, plug the mortises, spackle the plug seam, chisel the plug from the opposite side, hang the opposite door and sweep up. I painted the first few times, but it's a white jam and I decided the paint smell was more suspicious than the unpainted spackle. It's a thin seam, and my wife wouldn't even know where to look. She's never said anything about it, but I've seen her grasp the air where a doorknob used to be 100 times. Duck the Macaroni Grill. I spent a whole day crinkling a disposable water bottle every time I took a sip. Not crushing it, just a little crinkle. It caused a minor freak out at about 2 in the afternoon. You're the worst kind of person, especially if it's in a classroom. My sister was really passive aggressive towards her roommate. She used to eat all the berries out of Kellogg's Red Berries cereal but leave a small amount enough so she thought Kellogg's was just being an asshole. Your sister sounds like a serial killer. Ha, ha ha ha. Step 1. Become an excellent pickpocket. Step 2. Specialize in placing things into people's pockets. Step 3. Place strange things into their pockets while no one is watching. The best things to place are fried eggs, Not runny but still a gooey consistency, and a small balloon filled partially with lukewarm water, called the phantom scrotum. Wouldn't that make you a put pocket? Every time their sports team loses, tie a red balloon to their car. Over time, the stimulus of the red balloon will become attached to the sadness of their team losing in their psyche. Then, simply show them a red balloon to reduce them to tears. Sure thing, Dr. Pavlov. This isn't that creative, but fun. When you are talking to someone, keep looking at one specific spot on their face, like a side of their nose or something. Don't stare at it all the time, but enough. If they ask if there's something on their face, act like you don't know what they are talking about. It doesn't take that long when they can't remember what they were talking about. I worked with a girl who said at a previous job, she heard a manager she hated had a foot fetish. So when he would come into her cubicle, she'd slip her shoes on and off absently and innocently. Sometimes she'd show up at his cubicle in stocking feet. She said it completely sidetracked him and neutralized any train of thought he had. Sarah, these reports are unacceptable. I asked for an Excel file where everything is on one sheet and you, fix that up. Today. I once worked in an office where there was a legendary feud between two managers, Alex and Bill. Alex was an older guy. He was patronizing, arrogant, and had some kind of tenure. Bill was the guy who had to fix Alex's duck-ups. Here's what Bill did. Got sand from the outside and sprinkled just a few grains on Alex's chair mat. This made the chair casters grind a little and his shoe slip, which was irritating. Spray a dab of really cheap and pungent cologne under Alex's desk. Alex hated perfume and would complain about it constantly. Replace the handset cord on his office phone with one that was horrendously tangled and overstretched. Gently unplug the PS/2 plug to the keyboard or mouse. It looked plugged in, but wasn't. Tech support learned to hate Alex's constant calls. The file cabinets we had used a spring to close them automatically about an inch from closing. Bill broke these springs so the file cabinet would never close properly. Later, he angled the cabinet forward by shimming up the back slightly so the lower drawer would roll open at the slightest vibration, hitting Alex's chair. Put bitters in Alex's coffee mug. That shit is hard to get the taste out of ceramic, apparently. Took Alex's legal pads and left them in some humid condition long enough to warp the pages. Unlock the locking mechanism on his office chair back so Alex thought he was falling for a second. Swap the M and N in Alex's keyboard. Swap the number pad keys in reverse like a touch-tone phone. Put Vaseline on the tips of the ballpoint pens. Sometimes Bill would just steal stuff off of Alex's desk, or swap them with something broken. Alex has a locked office, but Bill had a key to it, apparently. Bill was eventually caught, and then fired because Alex set up a webcam that snapped pictures and mailed them when it sensed movement. Sounds like Bill just needs to ask Alex out on a ducking date already. Best comment of the day. When my girlfriend gives me attitude for no reason, which is very common, I just tighten all of the lids on all of the jars in the house. No point in arguing with her, because even when she's wrong she's right, so I will just tighten the jar lids, that way she has no choice but to talk to me to ask me to open it for her.